Thanks for downloading this episode of the Artwood podcast. My name is Jenny Danielson, and in this episode we will listen to me and Justin Jorgensen in a rambling long conversation about life and Dapper and the Dapper Day outings at Disneyland and LACMA. I did send everything off to my editor Eric, and he really liked it. So we decided to keep it the way it is. It's not edited. It's 45 minutes long, and it's just amazing. So do please sit down and follow the conversation.
Yes, I think this wine is lovely.
It is very good, isn't it?
And not too acidic.
Because that would be terrible.
I think it's just charming. Hopefully the piano won't be too loud when it begins again.
You know what? Right now it's absolutely perfect.
Okay.
Yeah?
Well, great.
So you were going to say something. Let's jump right into that. You were going to say something about what? Can't remember. Sorry.
What was I going to talk about? Well, not to sound too, I don't know, concerned and anxiety-inducing already so early in this interview, but you know, I had this idea for this organization called Dapper Day, and that ended up taking over my life and ended up sort of temporarily, I would hope, just sidelining other things I was doing, which was mostly artworks and ideas for other artworks, art projects that I had in the pipeline. And so yeah, those have all come to a bit of a standstill at the moment as I'm trying to rush to get everything related to Dapper Day and that organization up to speed and get that fully staffed. I mean, that it's just been a train that left the station and just keeps going faster and faster. And so I'm just chasing after it to try and, keep laying down track in front of it. Mm-hmm. So, but I guess I should start at the beginning, huh?
Well, I think we need to start with Dapper, this wonderful world. It's a word, sorry.
That's
Dapper.
Okay.
I think it's a very good start because it means preferably a man, I think. Who's
it's
smart.
Not actually gender specific.
Oh, very good.
Well, at least from the readings I've done of it. But yeah, well, I'll tell you, here's the deal. So, I mean, I have a lot of ideas. I've come up with a lot of ideas. One of those ideas was that I thought, wouldn't it be cute? Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be fun to have an opportunity to really celebrate style, celebrate one's own personal style, in a way that, felt comfortable. It wasn't drawing attention to yourself. It lets you celebrate your own personal style. And so that was one idea. It also dovetailed into this thing where I was working at Disney, designing theme parks, and Disney Imagineering, that's the name for the division of the Disney company that designs all the Disney theme parks. They're known for these just gorgeous concept illustrations of the designs for what would become everything in the Disney parks. And in the beginning, in the early days, in the 50s, Disney had recruited many of his really amazingly talented studio staff to create these designs. And I think they were maybe being a bit cheeky in presenting the guests of what would become Walt Disney's parks as being very, very well dressed when they were wandering through these theme parks. And now, granted, yes, everyone did seem to be much more dressed up in that period, the 50s and the 60s. But I think Walt's designers and illustrators like John Hench and Herbie Ryman really did take it further, and were showing people in these illustrations dressed in a way like they were about to, go to the opera or something like that. And I thought, well, gosh, wouldn't it just be fun if we could make those illustrations happen? Because all the buildings, everything else in those illustrations were built. They happened, and they looked just as great or better than those original concept artworks. But the people never really looked like that. And so I thought, wouldn't that be fun? And a friend said, well, what would you call it? And I said, oh, that's easy. We would call it Dapper Day. And that was that. And then I just sat on that idea for nearly a decade because I was busy with other things. And then at some point I went to Disneyland with a couple friends. And they're, I guess fairly stylish friends of mine. We usually dress up when we go out places. And when I showed up at the park and I saw them, they had intentionally dressed down because they didn't want to stand out. And they wanted to blend in. And I was really horrified. And I thought, this is not good. This is not a good sign of things to come. And then while we were, having fun in the park, I saw this other couple, and I guess you would call them hipsters at the time. This was 2010 or so. And they just, it looked like they felt uncomfortable because they were dressed differently from everyone else in the park. And that really, gave me the kick in the pants and said, you know what? We've got to do something because I like dressing up. These people clearly enjoyed dressing up. My friends intentionally dressed down because they felt they would be out of place here if they dressed up. So that was it. I said, we're going to do this. We're going to create an organization called Dapper Day. We're going to organize our first outing to Disneyland. We're going to encourage people to dress up in, however that is interpreted by them, but with this idea of really celebrating just fun, refined style. And we're not going to be period specific about it, because I don't want to try and recreate the past. I want this to be open to everyone. And also, I didn't like events that had sort of boundaries to them, because then it was clear if you were on the inside or the outside. And what I wanted to do was create events where you didn't know where the line was between who was participating and who wasn't. I wanted it to just sort of blur at the edge, so you just felt this magical change in the atmosphere and in the way that people were presenting themselves. Like if you did something where, I don't know, it's, everyone wear red or something, then it's really clear, okay, who got the memo and who didn't. And then if you didn't get the memo, you show up and you feel weird. And that's, I didn't want to create a division like that, or a boundary of, who got the info and who didn't. So that was the idea behind it. I got it going. This, with just a little bit of internet promotion. We made the event happen. It was the first outing to Disneyland. It was in the winter of 2011. My idea was to make it an annual outing. I wanted to do it in the winter because I wanted the park to be in a real neutral setting. I didn't want any sort of holiday decor to be in anyone's photos. I also wanted it to be the coldest time of year so everyone could wear as many layers as possible. What happened was about 100 people came. And when the photos got online, everyone freaked out and said, oh my God, this looks like so much fun. This is, what a great idea. I want to do it again. Let's do it next week. And I could see I was really quickly going to lose control of this. And so I said, hang on, everyone. Okay, we'll do this again in the fall, and then we'll do it again in the spring. So we'll start doing this now every 6 months, and we'll do a spring and a fall outing to Disneyland. Now, it had always been my idea to, branch beyond this and find other locations to have Dapper Day outings to. But Disneyland just seemed like a great way to start. It's a great location. It's so rich in its design. and it's an environment. It's color. It just lends itself towards taking photos and having a great just day with your friends and meeting other people. It's just the most perfect location. So we did that. The first event, like I said, about 100 people came. The next event, that would have been fall 2011, 450 people came. The next outing to Disneyland, spring 2012, about 1,100 people came. And then fall 2012, 4,500 people came. And then that would have been spring 2013. Over 10,000 people came, and then we sort of lost count after that. And the only way that I know how many people came was because we organized like these sort of in-park gatherings. We would say, hey, in the afternoon at 2:00, let's all meet and let's ride the paddle boat together, the Liberty Bell, or wait, no, is it called the Mark Twain? I'm getting my parks confused. In Florida, I think it's the Liberty Bell. In California, it's the Mark Twain. And we knew the capacity of those boats, and so I could count how many people, got on and how many times we filled it. And then in the evening, we would have a gathering at the carousel. And I believe the Disneyland carousel holds 72 people, so we could count, like, how many times did we fill that carousel. But yeah, we quickly outgrew all of that. And then at one point, Disney called me because the park reached capacity. And they had to post a notice saying that if you left the park, we can't guarantee that you're going to get back in. And so they contacted me and said, how many people came? And I said, I don't know. It's your park. How many people do you think came? And they said, well, by our estimates, that was, between 25 and 30,000 people. And I said, well, that sounds about right. And so, anyway, that is how everything got going with our Dapper Day outings to Disneyland. Since then, we expanded. We now have Disney park outings to the parks in Florida as well as Paris. We also expanded to add a 2-day Dapper Day Expo that happens at the Disneyland Hotel here in California in Anaheim. That happens with every spring and fall event. And that's just a big fun marketplace that celebrates refined style from yesterday and today with a wide variety of vendors dealing in everything from vintage fashion to just contemporary, maybe vintage repro styles, as well as just a whole range of accessories. And I mean, we have men's barbers and of course great bands, and so there's dancing. We'll even have seminars at the one coming up with different style related subjects. But the fun, exciting part has been also expanding into more cultural events, like outings to museums like LACMA or the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County here in LA. Also, February 1st of this year, we're doing our first event with the Los Angeles Philharmonic. And then last year in early 2018, I'm losing track of what year we're in, we had our first event with LA Opera. So I love doing these cultural non-Disney events. I like being able to take our following, this audience, and have us go to other locations that maybe they haven't explored before, and being able to dress up and have fun doing it. I feel like I just gave a long monologue.
That was a very good monologue.
That was completely uninterrupted. I'm so
that was
sorry.
Very good. No, that was very good. Because I am going to go to the event at LACMA. Because I have actually never been to Disneyland here in California. But so what would you say is the main ingredients? So is it that people have to think about when they wake up in the morning what they are going to wear? Because I can't actually remember how I got the information about this, probably online somewhere, and I immediately thought about what dress to wear, and I contacted my friends, like, what are you going to wear? Can I borrow that one from you? Would you do my makeup? Because it becomes an event, and you go with friends, and you take a lot of time just to think about what to wear.
Yeah.
Which is so much fun.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say,
I love that.
I think...
So, but So that's one thing, that you show up and you must wear something that you feel very comfortable in. You want to feel a bit different to what you do probably